All right, this one comes from r/paranormal, so it is real. Creepy Things My Kid Says, Part 1. My child is a psychic medium and a telepath who can see and mind read the dead and the living. It all started in June of 2020. My daughter, 2, my husband, 36, and I, 35, moved from an apartment in Newark, New Jersey to a house in the middle of the woods in the New Jersey Pine Barrens. Anyone unfamiliar with the Pine Barrens, they are a creepy-looking forest in South Jersey near the shore. The rivers run red as blood, sandy soils, no brush, just lone, desolate, tiny pine trees. The trees are about 6 feet tall. It's also the supposed home of the Jersey Devil, the namesake of the Jersey Devils hockey team. According to popular folklore, the Jersey Devil originated with a Pine Barrens resident named Jean Leeds, known as Mother Leeds. The legend states that Mother Leeds had 12 children and, after discovering she was pregnant for the 13th time, cursed the child in frustration, declaring that the child would be the devil. In 1735, in a cottage deep in the woods, Mother Leeds was in labor on a stormy night while her friends gathered around her. Unfortunately for her, the 13th child was born normally. However, it transformed into a creature with hooves, a goat's head, bat wings, and a forked tail. Growling and screaming, the child beat everyone with its tail before flying up the chimney and heading into the Pine Barrens. In some version of the tale, Mother Leeds was supposedly a witch, and the child's father was the devil himself. Some versions of the legend also state that local clergymen subsequently attempted to exorcise a creature from the Pine Barrens. Kinda like a chupacabra. There have been mass sightings on record. This will be relevant later. We moved to the countryside to get out of the city, locked down from the pandemic. Newark is only 10 miles from New York City. COVID restrictions were limiting our daily lives. I used to take my daughter to the playground every day, but they closed the playgrounds. The healthcare system there is buckling at the seams on a good day. Curfew on all non-essential traveling. Yeah, I wanted to get away from all of that, and we could move anywhere we wanted because I was online teaching. My husband had a chimney maintenance business, so we made the move. My daughter and I were together all day, which was pretty easy because she had a great disposition. It started with the house. It was a large 2-story with a basement. After we moved in, my husband and I started hearing stomping, doors slamming, doors locking, like an angry couple have been fighting. He and I would text each other, "You mad?" because we thought it was each other at first. When we did fight, doors would lock in between us. I thought he was locking me in/out and vice versa, until it kept happening and we both knew we weren't doing it. It escalated those first couple of arguments though. And don't read into this too much. The reason we were apart with a door between us wasn't because we stormed off or got kicked out. It was just to calm down before we talked it out. There was also the light bulbs. The light bulbs all had a mind of their own, blinking, strobing, flickering, changing colors. One night I was home alone in bed with my cat and my dog asleep in my lap. All of a sudden they both woke up. They were both staring at something tall next to the bed. Their eyes start tracking it from the bedside to the foot of the bed, at which point my dog lunged towards the entity, jumping off the bed and started barking underneath the bed. I was pretty freaked out. Called my husband, and he's such a skeptic, but he didn't believe it could be anything supernatural. A couple of weeks later, a maintenance guy was sent in by the landlord. We were talking in the living room when he paused and said, "Has anything weird been happening in this house? Have you noticed anything paranormal?" I said, "Yeah, actually," and proceeded to tell him about all this stuff. He said, "Because I see dead people, and I just saw a woman standing in your living room." He gave me a prayer book and told me to put it in the right half of the house where all of the ruckus is. All of the bedrooms, both stories of bedrooms, were on the right. We were nowhere near my daughter for this conversation. She was in her room with the door shut. This is relevant next. At midnight that night, my daughter's 3rd birthday eve, I heard her screaming and crying frantically, trying to open her bedroom, but the door wouldn't open. I thought she locked herself in, but when I went to open it, the handle opened immediately. She leapt into my arms, her face was red, tears streaming down her face, pointed at the bed and said, "It hurt me." "What hurt you?" "That." She points a couple of feet from the bed this time. Her face was shook. she was steady, still pointing and staring at it. I said, "What is that? Is it a person?" "Yes." We both froze in fear. Then my cat came walking down the hall towards us. Big black Bombay with the personality of a reincarnated human. He's the weirdest cat I've ever had. Anybody who knows him knows he's really friendly, like aggressively friendly. And he's so comfortable when we're upset. But instead of stopping at mommy and sister, petrified in fear in the doorway, he pushed past us and was like gravitating towards exactly where my daughter was still pointing. At which point she leapt out of my arms, grabbed her cat, turned to look at the entity, shook her finger and said, "No, ghost, no," and ran out the room. Again, I was home alone. My husband was on a boys' trip to the Poconos. I called him all freaked out, and Mr. Skeptical said, "She's just watching too much Scooby-Doo." I said, if she's being theatrical, we need to get her to Hollywood because she's a hell of a good actress. Also, how do you explain my cat in some sort of ghost trance? The funny thing is, she's not an actress at all. Very what you see is what you get. Doesn't ever lie. Is bad at it when she even tries. I love her. She's so gifted. But bless her heart, she's not the most imaginative or creative kid. Ask her to name a new Barbie and it's Barbie. New teddy bear? Teddy. She's on the spectrum and at the time was still largely nonverbal. After this point, thankfully, the noises and occurrences in the house died down. For the next 2 years, things were relatively uneventful. The light bulbs still did weird stuff, but no other signs. I never turned the basement light off. It just gave me the creeps. I might have been right too, but we'll get there. We thought we were in the clear, but then there's this weird shit in the woods behind our house. At 10 p.m. every night, my dog would be gunning to go outside. When I let him out, he would run up to the tree line and just lose his mind barking his head off. I wasn't sure if it was a peeping Tom. In my lifetime, I have had 3. My Ukrainian mom said maybe it was some kind of Ukrainian house spirit I successfully cast out of the house, but now it's still stalking us. They like to hang out around your perimeter. Jersey Devil? Really? Who knows? Maybe just some deer? That's what I wanted to believe. Then my husband was outside burning boxes in the fire pit when he saw a dark figure, about 5 or 6 feet tall, with 2 red glowing eyes staring at him from 3 meters away. Even he couldn't deny that was weird. We got an expensive taser after that. He had me tested on him in the snow. It works. We might have accidentally traumatized the neighbor's kids. Okay, so there is way more. This is really only setting the stage for the bulk of what's to come. After this, we get entirely into everything she says. I'm going to stop here for discussion because of how much has already been covered. I know it's lengthy. Let me know if I'm rambling or if I should be more concise. My mind goes a million directions at once.
Holy fuck. Oh my god.
So I have a part 2, but...
It's crazy. Before we get into part 2.
Yeah.
This is our merch pillow. If you're on YouTube, this is our merch pillow. It's a little bit upgraded from the last pillowcase. I got the colors lined up nicely here, but our merch website is finally live.
Yay!
Woo!
Woo!
You guys have been asking for merch, so we now have it. We got pillowcases, got hoodies, we got t-shirts, we got lots of stuff.
We got lots of stuff. We got pretty much anything you guys want. If you want something else, if you've been... you want, I don't know, socks or something. We actually have socks.
We do.
But if you think of anything else that you guys want, let us know.
Yeah, we'll talk about this a bit more at the end of the episode, but I just wanted to throw that in there right now.
All right, part 2.
Part 2.
Picking up right where I left off. If you haven't seen part 1, I'll link it in the comments. I'm aware this suspends belief. Friends and family have mixed reactions for years. They either think that she and I are mental, or they think she's gifted. You can make of this what you will. I'm just relaying the events as they happened. If I sound like I'm leaning towards it being real, it's hard to experience this stuff and not wonder. I do want to get into her seeing and talking to ghosts and angels, but for both chronological order and for context in what's to come, I'm going to get into the mind reading stuff first. Okay, so when she was 3 years old, my daughter started responding to things I was thinking in my head out loud. The first time it happened, we were on a flight from New Orleans to Newark, returning from visiting during spring break. I was thinking to myself, I want to move down south again, but I don't want to disrupt her stability. I was thinking maybe she'd be happier if we just stayed put. Out loud she said, I don't want to stay there. I want to move down here. Now, this is one of the more plausible things a child would randomly say, so I didn't assume she was reading my mind, per se. but it definitely made me raise an eyebrow. The next time it happened, I was driving home late at night, and I always had to drive extra slow through the woods after dark. There were so many deer out there. I used to count them each time, and we're talking like a good dozen each time. I used to call it deer safari, lol. You drive slow while appreciating the wildlife, while hoping it doesn't come towards you and kill you. By car crash, obviously deer are pretty docile. My daughter was in the back seat. I was thinking to myself, I wish more people in New Jersey would go hunting so there were less of them all over the road. Ha! I'm a vegetarian and praying for people to kill deer? How ironic. When my daughter in the back seat busted out with, Mommy, I want to kill a deer. Okay, now that's a weird thing for her to say. My husband and I never talked about deer hunting, and she's had very little outside influence, never mind being a strange desire for a toddler, even if they were familiar with the concept. She starts translating for the pets. She tells me she knows what they're saying when they meow/bark, signal, whatever, and it's cute. Like, okay, sure. She always gets it right though. It cuts down on me playing the guessing game. Obviously, this isn't concrete or anything. I'm just including everything that's happened. One day, she's staring out the front door with my dog staring at a squirrel, and she starts talking really fast. I gotta get that squirrel. I need to get that squirrel. I gotta get that squirrel. As if she was channeling his thoughts. She has never spoken like that before or since. Then, speaking of my dog getting squirrels, his dream came true. He dragged a baby squirrel into the house. I rescued it from his mouth like, OMG. I couldn't get the baby to the nature rescue folks until the morning, so I went to the supermarket and got some kitten milk, but I couldn't find a bottle for it. I fed the baby squirrel using a straw and then the corner of a Ziploc bag. I literally got this poor thing to latch onto a plastic bag. I fostered kittens before, so I knew he couldn't retain his own body heat. I had him on my chest for as long as possible, trying to keep him warm. I fell asleep. When I woke up, he was dead underneath me. Rest in peace, little buddy. I was scared of how my daughter would take it, so I wanted to bury him before she woke up. I went into the woods behind my house and returned his body to nature. When she woke up, I told her he went to go live with his mommy, but she didn't believe me, and nothing I said was making it better. She was standing at the back door with tears rolling down her face. I was like, okay, avoiding upsetting her isn't working. Let me just tell her the truth. I told her he died. I asked her if she wanted to go see his grave, and she said yes. We went into the woods, uncovered his body. She said, yep, he's dead, and she covered his grave back up, and seemed to have gotten some peace and closure. We were walking back to the house, her in front and me behind her, and I was feeling so guilty about how he died. I started picturing it. When she gasped, she turned around to look at me and said, You killed him in your sleep? Like she was legit surprised and appalled out of nowhere. That's one of the incidents that really sticks with me. Another really curious incident. We are Jewish. It was Yom Kippur, New Year's. It's a time of atonement and doing like a review of oneself over the past years, reflecting on how we can be a better person. I was driving with my daughter in the backseat, meditating on my moral inventory, and I was being really, really tough on myself. People are always telling myself I'm too hard on myself, so I was like, okay, God, how much should I take into account and how much should I give myself a break? When my daughter says, God wants you to listen to the universe, from the backseat. Okay, God, creepy, but noted. After these incidents, I started talking to my family and friends about it. My daughter is 4 by this point. One of my sisters asked my daughter to do it on command. My daughter said, You're thinking of nothing. My sister laughed. She had blanked her mind on purpose to try to trick her. My daughter's best friend asked her to do it too, and again she got it. Her friend was like, OMG, how did you do that? My daughter said, Because I'm a brain thinker. We asked her, Do you know what cats are thinking? Yes. Dogs? Yes. People? Yes, except Auntie Jenny. I don't ever know what Auntie Jenny is thinking. I thought it was really cute she came up with her own word for it because she didn't know the word telepathic. Now I'm hyper aware in what I think about when I'm around her. I'm a little unnerved by the possibility I don't have private thoughts around her. I catch her staring at me and I try to scramble my brain. I know it sounds crazy, truly, but I challenge anyone to have it happen to them and not be a little creeped out. However, if she's telling the truth, the minds of the living aren't the only minds she can read.
Fucking crazy. This is wildness.
And I don't think there's any other part 3s. That's all they've posted, unfortunately. But
maybe they'll come out with a part 3.
Maybe I'll read it for the Halloween episode. if they do.
Maybe. Oh, man.
I couldn't imagine having
Bro,
a psychic daughter that can see ghosts. No thanks.
okay, we talk about like, you know, pros and cons of having kids, and like one of the cons would be like they turn out to be like a terrible child and they're always screaming in the grocery store and stuff like that. Oh, imagine they're like seeing ghosts and talking. No. That's way worse.
That's the worst case scenario.
You can't. That's, oh my God, you can't fix that. That'd be fucked. Oh my.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. I have another Am I the Asshole one.
Okay.